Hello and welcome to DSEJ Teleclasses. I am Darshan and today we are going to read a chapter from your textbook. This is chapter number 3 under the prose section, and the title of the chapter is From the Diary of a Young Girl. So we are going to read a few things, a few lines from the diary of a young girl. That diary belongs to Anne Frank. So we will learn who Anne Frank was and why is her diary so important that we are reading from it. Okay, let's get started. So I've got the textbook here. That is, as I told you, chapter number 3 under prose section. So before we start reading this actual chapter, we have to go into the past a little bit and know a little history of Europe during the Second World War. And because this diary is from that period, from that time when the world was facing the Second World War. If we really want to understand why this diary is so important, we have to understand a very widely used term, the Holocaust. Now, what was the Holocaust? A period between 1941 and 1945 when many Jews were killed, millions of Jews were killed by the Nazi government of Germany. You know, Hitler was the head of the government at that time, and that Nazi government killed so many Jews during the period of roughly between 1941 to 1945, and that killing of millions of Jews during that period is called the Holocaust. And Jews were running away from the Nazi Germans during that time. They were hiding at places, they were running away to different countries, they were migrating to different countries of the world just to survive, just to save themselves, just to escape from the Nazis. And one of those families was Anne Frank's family, right? So let's read a little bit of things before we actually start reading the chapter. Number one thing is the diary that we are talking about, and you can see a picture of that diary on your screen. This is how the cover of the diary looked like. It was like this, and it was given to Anne Frank for her 13th birthday. And when was that? Because she was born on 12th June 1929. So her 13th birthday was on 12th June 1942. This is when she got this diary. And during the next about 2 years or so, she wrote frequently in that diary, and that was what later converted into a book called The Diary of a Young Girl. So Anne Frank was actually born in Germany, but later on her family moved to Amsterdam, the capital of Netherlands. They moved there and they lived there. But later, what happened during the World War? Germany occupied Netherlands. So many Jews in Amsterdam were also killed. And Anne Frank's family went into hiding. They hid in a place, and where they hid in Anne Frank's father's office building. There were some hidden rooms there, and they remained there for about 2 years. And after that, they were betrayed by a person that they knew, and ultimately they were arrested from that building and then taken to concentration camps, where all the members one by one died. All the family members, Anne Frank, her sister, her mother, and only her father survived. So he came back to the place where they had been hiding before that. When the war was over, he came back and he found that diary. When he read the contents of the diary, he thought that it was something that should be published, that people should know about, that people should read what was going through a young girl's mind during that time. All right, let's start reading now. Writing a diary is a really strange experience for someone like me, Not only because I've never written anything before, but also because it seems to me that later on, neither I nor anyone else will be interested in the musings of a 13-year-old schoolgirl. Now, Anne finds it slightly strange to write a diary because she thinks nobody will read her diary. So why is she writing it at all? So it's a strange experience for her. And because she thinks that nobody will be interested in the musings, in the thoughts of a young girl. Oh well, it doesn't matter. And then she decides to write anyway, because it doesn't matter whether people will be interested in what she was writing or what she wasn't. It doesn't matter. I feel like writing, and I have an even greater need to get all kinds of things off my chest. So there are things that I want to express, and there is nobody to listen to me. So that is the biggest reason I want to write a diary, and that is the reason why many people write diaries. Do you write diaries? If you don't write diaries, I suggest you should start writing one. That's such a great relief when you tell your diary something that you can't really tell other people. Anyway, let's move on. Paper has more patience than people. I thought of this saying on one of those days when I was feeling a little depressed and was sitting at home with my chin in my hands, bored and listless, wondering whether to stay in or go out. Sometimes you get so bored that you don't even know what to do. I finally stayed where I was, brooding, brooding like thinking, and sad looking, lonely looking, thinking. That's brooding. Yes, paper does have more patience. And since I am not planning to let anyone else read this stiff-backed notebook grandly referred to as a diary, unless I should ever find a real friend, it probably won't make a bit of difference. So paper has more patience. That means you can tell anything to paper, it won't respond. It has more patience than people. Because when you tell people something that they don't want to hear, that they don't like, they would become impatient. They might yell at you, shout at you, become angry. But that's not the case with paper. This is what she's saying in this paragraph. Now I'm back to the point that prompted me to keep a diary in the first place. I don't have a friend. Now this is one reason that she wants to write a diary, because she thinks she doesn't have a friend. Let me put it more clearly. Since no one will believe that a 13-year-old girl is completely alone in the world, no friends, how is it possible? I'm 13-year-old and I'm alone in the world. And I'm not actually alone. I have loving parents and a 16-year-old sister. She has an elder sister who is 16 years old. And there are about 30 people I can call friends. I have a family, loving aunts, and a good home. I have everything that a person of my age would maybe expect to have. No, on the surface, I seem to have everything except my one true friend. People in this age, many of you are 13, 14 years of age, and you also sometimes feel like this. We don't have a true friend. So this is how she was feeling. That is very normal for a person of your age to feel like this. So on the surface, that means superficially, bahar se, it looks like that I have everything that I need except my one true friend. All I think about when I'm with friends is having a good time. I can't bring to talk about anything but ordinary everyday things. We don't seem to be able to get closer, and that's the problem. Maybe it's my fault that we don't confide in each other. In any case, that's just how things are, and unfortunately they are not liable to change. This is why I have started the diary. She says I have people about 30 that I can call friends, but with most of the friends I just talk about ordinary things, very commonplace things. So when there is something personal that I want to share with people, I don't find a person. And that is why I want to write this diary. This is what Anne Frank is saying. To enhance the image of this long-awaited friend in my imagination, I don't want to jot down the facts in this diary the way most people would do. But I want the diary to be my friend, and I am going to call this friend Kitty. Now she says that this diary to me is not like other people treat a diary like. The diary to me is my closest friend, my best friend, and I am going to give the diary a name as well, and that name would be Kitty. Since no one would understand a word of my stories to Kitty if I were to plunge right in, I'd better provide a brief sketch of my life, much as I dislike doing so. Now she says people won't understand a thing when I write whatever I write in this diary. Let me give you a brief sketch of my life, my past life up to this point. And she also adds that she doesn't like doing that, much as I dislike doing so. Now she's telling us about her family and about everything else before actually coming to the present moment. My father, the most adorable father I've ever seen, didn't marry my mother until he was 36 and she was 25, telling about her parents' age when they got married. My sister, Margaret, was born in Frankfurt in Germany in 1926. This is when her sister was born. I was born on 12th of June 1929. I lived in Frankfurt until I was 4. My father immigrated to Holland in 1933. The Netherlands and Holland are just the two names of one country in Europe, and the capital is Amsterdam. Right? The people are called Dutch. The people of Holland are called Dutch, and also the language that they speak is also Dutch. And this diary was also originally written in Dutch, and what we are reading here has been taken from the English translation of the diary. Yeah, they moved to Holland in 1933. My mother, Edith Hollander Frank, that was her mother's name, went with him to Holland in September, while Margaret and I were sent to Aachen to stay with our grandmother, a place in Germany. They still lived there. Margaret went to Holland in December and I followed in February, when I was plunked down on the table as a birthday present for Margaret. So it was Margaret's birthday. She had already gone there, but Anne was still behind, and then she went there. That was her birthday, and she was brought there. She was put on the table. Hey, this is your birthday present. And the sister, of course, was so happy to see her little sister. I started right away at the Montessori nursery school. As soon as I was shifted to Holland, I went to Holland at the age of 4. I got admitted into a Montessori nursery school. You know, the kind of playway schools that we have where small kids go to study. Montessori school. I stayed there until I was 6. For 2 years I stayed in that school, at which time I started in the first form. And after that I started now form means the class or standard or grade, whatever you call it. We call it first class, second class, third class, or first grade, second grade. They call it form, at which time I started in the first form. So I started my first form there. In the 6th form, my teacher was Mrs. Cupress, the headmistress. So I was studying there till class 6, and the name of my headmistress was Mrs. Cupress. At the end of the year, we were both in tears as we said a heartbreaking farewell. So the year ended, my class 6 also ended, and we had started liking each other so much that we were kind of crying. We were in tears when I got separated, because now I had to go to a bigger school for my further studies. So Mrs. Cupress and I were both bidding each other farewell, adieu, goodbye, and we were both crying in tears, right? In the summer of 1941, Grandma fell ill and had to have an operation. So my birthday passed with little celebration. And remember, she was very close to her grandmother. So my birthday passed without little celebration, though there were no celebrations that year during her birthday. Grandma died in January 1942. So Grandma died then in 1942. No one knows how often I think of her and still love her. So after her grandmother's death, she often thinks of her. This birthday celebration in 1942, when she got that diary, now she is talking about that birthday, when she got that diary, was intended to make up for the other. And because we were not able to celebrate my previous birthday because of grandmother's poor health, so now we are making up for that, because now we didn't celebrate it the previous year. This time we are celebrating it, and grandma's candle was lit along with the rest. So a candle for grandma was also lit during the birthday celebration. You know, they lit candles. We also do the same thing these days now. Before the cutting of cake, we light candles and then, you know, blow them out. So one of the candles was for grandma when we were celebrating the birthday. The four of us still doing well, and that brings me to the present date of 20 June 1942 and the solemn dedication of my diary. And now this was what happened to me before, a little brief sketch of my life. This is what Anne is saying, and now we have come to the present. Now this entry that we are going to read after this is one entry that she made on Saturday 20 June 1942. You see, on top you have the day and the date, 20th of June 1942, Saturday, when she wrote this piece of writing that we are going to read now. Dearest Kitty, as we know, she calls her diary Kitty. Dearest Kitty, our entire class is quaking in its boots. Quaking means shaking with fear or nervousness. So our whole class is very nervous. The reason, of course, is the forthcoming meeting in which the teachers decide who will move up to the next form and who will be kept back. The result is going to be declared. The teachers are going to announce the result. And half the class is making bets. Now, she has used initials for some people's names, you know, like GN and I laugh ourselves silly at the two boys behind us. CN and Jack, these are the names of those boys. And half of the class is making bets who will make it, who will pass and who won't. They are, you know, kind of making bets for that. CN and Jack, who are sitting right behind them, who have staked their entire holiday savings on their bet. So the money that they have saved, they have put it on bet. From morning to night, it's you're going to pass. No, I am not. Yes, you are. No, I am not. Even G's pleading glances and my angry outbursts can't calm them down. So we are, you know, staring them, you know, with anger. We are just making a kind of, you know, angry outbursts. But they are not stopping. They're kind of, you know, this is going on throughout the day. If you ask me, there are so many dummies that about a quarter of the class should be kept back. Now Anne thinks in her class there are so many, you know, students who are not good at studies. And so a quarter of the class, 1/4 of the class, 25% of the class should be kept back, should not be moved to the next grade. This is what she thinks. But teachers are the most unpredictable creatures on earth. This is her idea about teachers. Unpredictable. You never know what they will do. Unpredictable means the kind of person whose behavior can't be predicted. You don't know when the person will respond in what way. That is unpredictable. So she's saying teachers are the most unpredictable creatures on earth. I'm not so worried about my girlfriends and myself. So my friends and we are safe. We'll make it. We'll make it. That means we'll pass. The only subject I'm not sure about is maths. She is slightly uncertain about maths. Anyway, all we can do is wait, but we can't help it. We have to wait. Until then, we keep telling each other not to lose heart. So we are just consoling each other. कोई बात नहीं, ठीक हो जाएगा सब कुछ. Don't lose heart. These kind of things we are telling each other. Now she is talking about her relations with teachers. I get along pretty well with all my teachers. I get along pretty well with all my teachers. With all my teachers, I have cordial relationships. There are 9 of them, so there are 9 teachers who teach us, 7 men and 2 women. Mr. Keesing, the old fogey who teaches maths, was annoyed with me for ages because I talked so much. Now, our maths teacher is so annoyed with me for ages, for such a long time, that And the reason for that is because I talk so much. Now teachers usually don't like students who talk while they are teaching. And Anne, as she's saying herself, that I talked so much, that's why her maths teacher didn't like her. The old fogey means an old-fashioned person. So Mr. Keesing was an old-fashioned person and he didn't like Anne because she talked so much in class. No teacher likes students who talk too much. After several warnings, he assigned me extra homework. Now, sometimes what happens, as punishment, you are given extra homework. If you don't listen to your teachers and they have to indirectly punish you, they will give you extra homework to do. All students are given some homework, but the student that you want to punish is given extra homework. And this is what happened with Anne as well. She was given extra homework by Mr. Keesing. An essay on the subject, a chatterbox. Now, a chatterbox is the person who talks too much. That is called a chatterbox. And this was the topic of the essay that the math teacher gave Anne to write as a homework, as an extra homework. A chatterbox? What can you write about that? Now she's thinking, what can I write about the chatterbox? I'd worry about that later, I decided. Okay, I'll think about it later on, no problem. I jotted down the title in my notebook. So when he gave me that, I wrote it down on the notebook about the homework, the title, tucked it in my bag and tried to keep quiet. So I didn't say anything to Mr. Keesing at that time, that what kind of title was that, what should I write about it. But I kept quiet and just noted down the title in the notebook. That evening, after I had finished the rest of my homework, so first when I came back, I finished my homework. First of all, I had to finish my regular homework that I got from different teachers. The note about the essay caught my eye. After that, I just happened to look at that note where I had written that extra homework where I had to write an essay on chatterbox. I began thinking about the subject while chewing up the tip of my fountain pen. When you are thinking, hardly you have something in your hand, pencil, or you put it in your mouth. So this was happening. I was chewing the tip of my fountain pen and thinking about the subject. Anyone could ramble on and leave big spaces between the words, but the trick was to come up with convincing arguments to prove the necessity of talking. So, I could have just done it for the sake of homework. Ramble on means to talk or write about something aimlessly for a long time. So, writing about it for a long time, just giving spaces within the text, and I could have written so many things, but no, I was thinking that I have to write a real essay where I have to give some convincing arguments, which could prove the necessity of talking. So I just wanted to write in that essay that it is important for children to talk. I just wanted to write that in the essay. So see, she's thinking, she's not taking it as a punishment, but as a chance to prove her point. That even if she talks, how important is talking, and she's thinking that way, not just thinking how can I do my homework. So this is what happens to us. We are given a project to do at home, we are given some assignment, we are given a homework, and we just think how we can finish it. Okay, go to the internet, search in the Google, copy it from there, write it, and then submit it. But Anne was thinking differently. She wanted to write something, although there was no internet during those days, but she could have completed her homework anyway that she didn't do. So she was thinking, how could she do that? How could she write some convincing arguments to prove the necessity of talking? I thought, and suddenly I had an idea. Now she got an idea. I wrote the 3 pages Mr. Keesing had assigned me and was satisfied. Then I wrote 3 pages. I argued, and then what was written in that essay? This is what she is telling us now. I argued that talking is a student's trait and that I would do my best to keep it under control. This is what she wrote. But that I would never be able to cure myself of the habit since my mother talked so much as I did, if not more, and that there is not much you can do about inherited traits. So she gave her argument. In that essay, she wrote that, okay, I'll try to keep a little control on my habit, but I can't cure it, because she says that her mother also has this habit of talking so much, and because that is something to do with genetics, with inherited traits from your parents, you can't help them. So this is her, you know, idea. This is her argument that she's presenting there, that I can't actually cure myself of this habit of talking, but yes, I'll try to kind of control it. Mr. Keesing had a good laugh at my arguments. Now when he read it, he laughed. Oh, but when I proceeded to talk my way through the next lesson, now he laughed at it, but again when the next lesson came and was talking, he assigned me a second essay. Now when he saw that she had not improved a bit, she was still talking in the class, now he assigned her a second essay, a different one. This time it was supposed to be on an incorrigible chatterbox. Now he added an adjective to the title. So this time, first it was a chatterbox, now the title of the essay became an incorrigible. The incorrigible is somebody who or something that can't be corrected. So an incorrigible chatterbox was the new title of the essay that she had to write, again as a punishment for talking in the class. I handed it in, and Mr. Keesing had nothing to complain about for 2 whole lessons. So I wrote another essay, submitted it, and Mr. Keesing for the next 2 lessons had nothing to complain about. However, during the 3rd lesson, he'd finally had enough. So for the next 2 lessons, I kept talking. He didn't say anything, but in the 3rd lesson he lost his patience again, and he said, "And Frank, as punishment for talking in class, write an essay entitled Quack Quack Quack, said Mistress Chatterbox." Now this is your essay, he angrily told her. The title of the essay would be Quack Quack Quack, said Mistress Chatterbox. Now this was the 3rd essay, and this was the title of the 3rd essay that he again, Mr. Keesing, gave, and this is what she is telling us in the diary that she is writing. The class roared. I mean, there was a laughter in the class. Everybody laughed together, so there was a roaring sound in the class. I had to laugh too, though I'd nearly exhausted my ingenuity on the topic of chatterboxes. Ingenuity is originality. I had almost lost my originality on the topic of chatterboxes, and I didn't know what would I write now. It was time to come up with something else, something original. Now it was the time to write something original, something different. My friend San, who's good at poetry, offered to help me write the essay from beginning to end in verse, and I jumped for joy. Now one of my friends who used to write poetry offered that you should write everything and I will help you in that to convert it into the verse form. Let us write it in the verse form, in the form of poetry, in the form of a poem. And I was so happy, I jumped with joy. Mr. Keesing was trying to play a joke on me with this ridiculous subject, but I'd make sure the joke was on him. Now she's trying to overturn the joke back on her teacher. I finished my poem and it was beautiful. It was about a mother duck and a father swan with 3 baby ducklings who were bitten to death by the father because they quacked too much. This was what my poem was about a mother duck and a father swan and the baby ducklings, because they quacked so much. So what the father did, he bit them to death. They were bitten to death by the father because they quacked too much. That was a very sad poem that she wrote about this family. Luckily, Mr. Keesing took the joke the right way. Now, Mr. Keesing, this poem, affected Mr. Keesing the right way. He read the poem to the class, so he read it aloud to the class, to the whole class, and of course adding his own comments and to several other classes as well. So wherever he took the poem to other classes where he was teaching and read out the poem to other students as well. Since then, I've been allowed to talk and haven't been assigned any extra homework. So after that, Mr. Keesing stopped assigning me any extra homework, and also he has allowed me to talk in class. On the contrary, Mr. Keesing is always making jokes these days. Now he has become a changed person, always cracking jokes in the class. Yours, Anne. So this was her entry on that day. This is what she wrote in one go. You learned about her past story and then about this particular day. And then you can see extracted from the diary of a young girl with slight adaptation. Certain changes are done to suit the level of the students. This is what. Okay then. So this was the diary of a young girl.